Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show and another episode of our Raw Reaction series, specifically the Arsenal transfer. No, it's not that one. It's the Arsenal news show. It's going to be hard to get out of habit of saying that because I've been saying it every day for the past 60 days. But good morning. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing good. Let's have a look into the chat box and see what you guys are saying. Matt G, good morning to you, to Marcus, to Adam, to Paul. Good morning to Rob, Stevie, Jack, Social, Anthony. Who else have we got in here? We got G Norburn, Lars, John T, Manu, Sam, Viraj, Matt, Mox. We've got Mr. Dazen. I don't know if that's right or not. I'm sorry if it is. Mr. Dazen, maybe. Runs with Cows. Julian, good morning to you. AV, good morning to you. Who else have we got? Finesse Arts. We've got Carl. We've got Mike. We've got Ryan. Daniel Robert as well. Why isn't Vlahovic in the title? Nothing to talk about with Vlahovic today, but thank you for bringing him up. Maybe I can put him in a tag now. Anyway, we kick off as always by telling you to go and subscribe to the Arsenal Way, which yesterday was verified. So thank you so much for everyone that's helped support us over there. Now I've got that nice little tick over on the channel, which is great to see. So if you aren't subscribed over on the Arsenal Way, please make sure you do. If you want to see some six-a-side from myself and Bailey, we play six-a-sides on Sundays together now, and we're trying to film them, and we're hopefully going to get that video out today, tomorrow. So if you want to see some awful, some dreadful football involving myself and Bailey, then make sure you're subscribed, because you'll be able to get all of that wonderfully embarrassing content over there. Also, link as always in the description to Vinny's charity. Make sure you're going over and donating if you haven't done so already, helping support Macmillan Cancer Support and Vinny on his journey to 10k and everyone's doing a 5k every day. I mean, I need to get on this 5k every day, to be honest. The weather isn't really suiting me, but I need to get in wedding shape, and I need to get on a 5k pretty much every day, as much as I can anyway. And the articles that went out yesterday from myself over on football.london, we did a piece about how Arteta can respond to Aubameyang's comments, which we're going to talk about very shortly. I did another piece about how William Saliba's contract needs to take kind of priority over the other youngsters and why. And lastly, which youngsters we might be able to see from the youth side making their debuts in the Arsenal first team. Myself and Chris Davison also did a piece about how we would spend the 180 million war chest that's been reported that Arsenal will have in the summer. We both had a crack at how we would break that down and what we would spend it on. So if you want to find out more about that, link to my page over on football.london is in the video description. We begin today's stories, though, with Mohamed Elneny reaching the final of the AFCON Cup of Nations. A massive congratulations to him, and we wish him the absolute best in the final, and fingers crossed he can bring the title home for Egypt. It would be great to see stopping... who is it that they'd be playing? I think it would be the winner of tonight's game, would it not? Senegal are playing, I think. Maybe Mane against Salah in the final. We'll have to wait and see, but best of luck to Elneny in the final. Our main story regarding Arsenal and not the players is regarding the Emirates Stadium. The Emirates Stadium is set to undergo significant refurbishment, is what we're told. Serious measures being put in place to improve a lot of the outdated infrastructure. If you've ever been to the Emirates, despite it being one of the newer stadiums in England, in my opinion, it is one of the worst upheld stadiums in the country. You'll have a tough time trying to find your seat because you can't even see the numbers along the chairs because they're so dirty and horrible and messy. The toilets aren't great either. It's just not very nice. The seats need changing and cleaning significantly. It's just not been very well looked after as a stadium, to be honest, and it needs significant repairs and updating. So there is a plan in place to significantly improve the Emirates and its infrastructure. So fingers crossed that can take place probably over the summer months in between the two seasons, I think is probably what the plan is going to be. It really does need an improvement. Never looked so good as when it did when it was behind closed doors and had all those banners. Bukayo Saka is said to be interesting both Manchester City and Liverpool, and they're both said to be tracking our youngster. I was on with Lee Judges yesterday on the Lee Judges TV with Dan and Sophie and Harry, and Lee went in on the Kroenke, and if they basically choose to sell, that's the big the big kind of light, the big red light if in the sky, damning us downwards from Stan Kroenke. We cannot afford to lose Bukayo Saka whatsoever. He is a player that needs to be signed up to a new deal as soon as possible, reflective of the salary that he deserves based upon his output in the Arsenal first team. We need to make sure that he's kept at the club for a significantly long time. I'm talking about 5-year extensions. We need to be talking about 6-7-year extensions to Bukayo Saka's contract. It's as simple as that. Keep this talismanic figure in the team for as long as feasibly possible. And finally, our headline story of the day, which I'm sure plenty of you read yesterday, is that Aubameyang has been speaking out regarding his move from Arsenal to Barcelona. Speaking at his unveiling, he says, "My last few months at Arsenal were complicated. That's football sometimes." It's not where he stops, though. "For my part, I never wanted to do anything wrong. My problem was only with Arteta. I can't say much more. I wasn't happy. It was just him," that's 2, "and he made," that's 3, "that decision. He," that's 4, "wasn't happy. I can't tell you more. He," 5, "wasn't very happy. I was very calm. Those were difficult months. This is football. I've never wanted to do anything wrong. It's the past, and I want to think about the present." So, in 4 sentences, he talks about the manager 5 times. It's almost like there is something that's bugging him. All I would say is that it was a frustrating read. It was one of those where you can clearly tell that something is a lot more has gone on behind the scenes than we're aware. We know that. We'll probably never find out. Mikel Arteta will be asked in his pre-match press conference to the Wolves game. And I imagine he will shut those questions down pretty darn quick. And quite rightly. I don't really want to know, to be honest. I'm really not interested in finding out what did or didn't happen behind the scenes. We've got the Amazon documentary coming out at the end of the season. I'm sure that something may be revealed during that. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll have to wait and see. If it doesn't, I don't particularly care. He's gone. He's done. It's over. The Aubameyang time at Arsenal, I'm very thankful for what he did at the club. He's not a club legend, despite some people on social media seemingly making him out that he is. He's not. And we will move on to the next chapter without him. It's as simple as that. And, you know, best of luck wherever else you move on, Alba. But it's a shame that things ended the way that it did. But it's not exactly surprising based upon the past and what's happened to the likes of Borussia Dortmund, etc. It was almost leading to this point. So that's all of today's stories. As you can imagine, with a big gap between games and the transfer window now over, the news is becoming increasingly sparse. What we can tell you as well is that the Wolves game has been rescheduled. Arsenal will now play Wolves on Thursday, the 24th of February. That means we play Wolves back-to-back, or rather alternate Thursdays. So we'll play Wolves on Thursday the 10th. We'll then play Brentford on the Saturday. I'm actually looking to go to that game, fingers crossed, on the 19th. And then we'll play Wolves again on the 24th. And then we don't have a game again at the weekend because I think that might be the is that the international break, or there's some cup competition probably on that we're not involved in. But yeah, we play again on the 10th, the 19th, and the 24th. So that's when those games have been rearranged. So if you wanted to know that, make sure you keep track of the schedule. We've still got a few more games to be rearranged. Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea all need to be rearranged. So there's going to be quite a few more fixture changes. But that's the conclusion of the news, which means we move on to your questions in the chat box. So if you do indeed have any questions that you'd like to throw in, please do. If you haven't dropped a like on the video as well, please make sure you've done that. And subscribe to the channel, helping us on our way to 40,000 subs. We'll see you again very, very soon in just a second. Okay, let's go into the chat and see what you guys are saying. Adia says, Alba's comments were blown out of proportion in the Arsenal Twitterverse. Hopefully this passes soon and we all see it in All or Nothing. I do have to agree, sorry. Manu says, great regarding the stadium improvements. Hate the discoloured seats. And Vinny says, it needs it, does the Emirates. It hasn't been well looked after at all. Matt G says, you know what? I'm starting to think that Aubameyang wasn't just in Barcelona visiting his family. Jack says, controversial opinion. I actually love what Arteta is doing to improve the culture and standards. Ozil, Guendouzi, Aubameyang, we're great, but we need the best unit of a team. I do absolutely agree with you. I like this Iron Fist mentality. I like if you're not with us, you're against us and you can go. get a together group, get everyone in the club that is behind a collected vision to progress forwards. If it doesn't work out, we'll change the manager and another manager will come in and hopefully have, again, a system whereby it's there where the highway. Because for too long, things have been allowed to slide at Arsenal no longer. Vinny says, any indication on how Tomiyasu is doing, likely to be fit for Wolves? It's still very uncertain, Vinny, at the moment. There was indications and whispers floating around that he would be looking to return to training very soon. He didn't end up flying out to Dubai in the end, as far as I'm aware, and he has remained through his rehab in England. So fingers crossed he returns to training very soon, but we won't probably hear any extra details until Arteta's press conference ahead of the Wolves game, which will probably be on Tuesday, maybe. You'll be able to watch that press conference on the Arsenal Way, as always. Marcus says, for the Reading game, do you think Pepe and Martinelli will play up front? Reading? Do you mean Wolves? The Reading game. Reading haven't been in the Premier League in ages. But maybe you do mean Wolves. Do I think that Pepe and Martinelli will play up front at some point? I mean, in regards to the future, it may be something that we are forced into depending on injuries, suspensions, COVID. It might cause us to go to these kind of lengths to make some changes to the first team. But Pepe, I think, would be, I think that the fact that Pepe's being mentioned shows how weak and thin we are in that position. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Drew says, if Footy Adventures video on Emirates Stadium Tour is anything to go by, the seats and the stadium itself look bad. Alex T says, I was very calm, suggests, talking about Aubameyang's quotes of I was very calm, suggests he's really not bothered about breaking the code of conduct. No guilt, no sense of responsibility, given that, of course, he would see Arteta as the aggressor. J Dime, though, says, that's a bit harsh on Alba, Tom. I think he did a lot for Arsenal, not just the goals, but the whole package, interactions with fans. Look, I absolutely agree with you. I think that he did a lot for Arsenal, did a lot for the fans, but the club is bigger than any individual. And no matter what you're doing, the club is always going to take priority. So if you're having these disciplinary breaches and there are going to be problems, the club comes first and quite rightly should be moved on. Let's scroll down a little bit more. I know I'm missing out some of the more recent questions that are coming in. Lars says, how does Wolves change as a team with Traore gone? I mean, to be honest, not loads. As far as I'm aware, he hasn't really been playing. He's been coming off the bench a few times, but he's not really been involved in the starting lineup. Just having a look at the game against Brentford. Was he on the bench? He was on the bench. I mean, they played with Podence and Fabio Silva up front. I don't know if I think that Jimenez was suspended for that game. They've been playing with a back three of Cody, Gomez, and Kilman. Who is Gomez? Tote Gomez at the back. And they've then been using Aït-Nouri, Semedo in the wide areas, Dendoncker, Neves, Moutinho. But they've got plenty of strong players to bring off the bench if they want them to, like Francisco Trincao. They've got the likes of Hervé, who they joined from Liverpool, Marçal, the Brazilian left-back. So they've got players, should they need them. Against Southampton, what was the lineup against Southampton? So Jimenez, Trincao and Podence started in the front three. Semedo, Dendoncker, Moutinho and Aït-Nouri. Gomez, Cody and Kilman were at the back. So look, they played with the back three system. It's something that we've faced a number of times. We can break it down. We can be caught by it. So we'll see. We'll do our preview show leading up to that game, so fingers crossed we'll see that. Oh, is there a behind closed doors Reading game that I'm completely gone over my head? We've got Reading tomorrow in a behind closed doors game. Thank you for letting me. There is a report of a friendly about Reading. Let's have a look at that. Reading, Arsenal. You see, when you're so in with things. Arsenal lonely-handed, nope. Arsenal to play Reading in behind closed door friendly. Return from Dubai break to shake rust off. Well, that's good. Fingers crossed. Maybe Carl Hein will be in goal for Reading. So that's positive. Get to test Carl Hein in the other net. That would be great to see. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. We've done it a number of times before, so we definitely need to. Dana says, who would be the ideal replacement for Aubameyang? Fingers crossed we would not lose Bukayo Saka. He loves Arsenal a bit more to stay with us. Dana, I think that Aubameyang's replacement will be one of a number of players in the summer. I think that we'll have to bring in probably two forwards in the end. You've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin that's linked, Jonathan David, Alexander Isak, of course, as well. They're the three main ones, but there are more than just that. Patrick Schick is someone that I quite like and have certainly grown in my appreciation of the striker as the season's continued onwards. Adeyemi, of course, if you can beat Borussia Dortmund to that signature. There are a few. Darwin Nunez of Benfica. There are quite a few players, so there you go. Charles Watts reported the Reading game, so there you go. Yes, Daniel Robert will be very happy indeed. Eamon says, Saliba to Real Madrid, ? Yeah, this is a story that's popped up in the last couple of days or so. It's always going to happen. Player does really, really well. Described as the next Varane, if you like, and has been in the past. It's unsurprising that Real Madrid have been linked to him. At the moment, as far as I'm aware, the intention is for him to return and fight for his place in the Arsenal team. The summer will reveal all about that, but fingers crossed he can get that new contract that the club will be looking to try and sign him up to. Neil says, Tom, is not club bigger than manager? Yeah, absolutely. The club is absolutely bigger than the manager, always. But the manager is kind of that one step down. He's the one that's, in charge of all the players. So if he wants to go through and have the iron fist, and this is his rhetoric, players have to get with that, otherwise they're gone. It's as simple as that. Olu says, hi Tom, what do you think about signing our top striker in the summer and renewing Laka for a year and keeping Balogun? Lacazette isn't going isn't going to be staying whatsoever, Olu. Lacazette will be leaving at the end of the season. There's no intention from the club at the moment to offer him a new deal. If there was any intention, it would happen relatively soon because Aubameyang was always a bit of a block for that move. His wages really kind of did stop them from renewing Lacazette's contract, but he's gone. So if there is a new contract to be had, it will be offered in the next few months, but there is no expectation at the moment that that will happen. Ian says, what if Balogun scores against Man United today? Fingers crossed he can. He may get his first start for Middlesbrough today. I was having a chat with a friend of mine, Ross Jackson, at Fan Brands, and he thinks that there's a chance that he may get a start in this game, which would be great to see. We're also going to be covering Balogun as part of our loan roundup every month. Don't you worry, we've been doing it for Saliba and the youth side, and we're going to be doing it for Balogun as well. So don't you worry, plenty of content to come on Balogun's loan move this season will be coming. GGTV for you says, finally, we have some backbone. Fair play to Arteta. Adam says, no problem with Arteta being ruthless. His players don't meet the standards he sets. Alex Ferguson did it with Stam and Beckham and Keane, and he is the most successful Premier League manager of all time. Maximia says, hi Tom, I understand Aubameyang wanted out and he went to Barca and struck himself a deal. Since he got what he wanted, why would we pay him the 7 million? How do we save on 25 million, as was reported in the media? So as far as we're aware, the Athletic reported yesterday that basically Arsenal would be paying a portion of his salary that was remaining for the rest of this season in instalments. Then at the end of the season, Barcelona will take on the full salary package. Onwards, there will be no link to Arsenal at all, no connection with Arsenal paying any kind of money towards Aubameyang. It's a deal that Barcelona wanted, it's a deal that Aubameyang wanted, it's a deal that Arsenal were willing to do. So it was always going to be that Barca weren't able to pay the wages because of the situation with La Liga. We were always going to have to pay a portion of those that were left, but Barca have agreed to take on the full wage in the summer, which does mean that Arsenal will save a significant amount of money. In fact, if you think about it, 300 odd, if we estimate it around 300, because 350 is including all bonuses, which you never imagine ever see the light of day, you're saving at least around 16 million quid minimum on that final year. So at least there's a significant saving in that final season. Matt says, I think Saka will sign his contract. The problem could be the following contract renewal, depending on how long, if we are competing. He is only 20. His contract runs until 2024. So we do need to get a bit of a move on and extend it, in my view, to at least probably 2027, 2028, maybe. It's going as far ahead as that. Matt says, I do think Saka will sign this contract. Do you think it'll be the following contract renewal that could be a problem? I think, did you ask that twice, Matt? You've asked it twice. I don't think the following on will be as much of an issue if we extend him on to a really long, significant period. Let's have a look for Iffy, who says, I'm okay with the discipline and all that, but what I don't like is the double standards and preferential treatment he gives to some players. It's why I can't take him seriously. He isn't consistent. I think he's been consistent over at least the last season. The last time that we've seen an inconsistency, I think, was with the Willian trip. People talk about Xhaka and red cards, but the difference is between that is an on-field issue in which Xhaka returns. after those suspensions. I'm not justifying those suspensions. It's ridiculous, and we should absolutely upgrade on Xhaka as soon as possible. But off-field disciplinary issues is different to on-field cards. There is a difference between the two, and you do need to separate them. But I agree the Willian incident was a bit of a strange one. But since that point, unless anyone can name something in the chat box besides an on-field problem, being like a red card or something, I don't think there's been an issue. But let me know in the chat box if you can think of one. Let's go to Ruli, who says, next season we'll play 3-5-2-1. I don't think you can even do that. I'm pretty sure that's 12 players, because I think you mean 3-5-2 or 3-4-2-1 maybe is what you mean. Back three, Saliba, White, Gabriel and Tommy. Tierney in the wing-back position. Partey in the middle with Saka, Smith Rowe, and a front up is Gabby. Maybe. I like a back three. I think Saliba coming back gives us a chance to play a back three. White can play in a back three very comfortably and has done before. Gabriel has played in the back three in the middle of it. Maybe it's something that we'll see. Let's see what happens. The off-field Canton incident. Manu says, with all of us agreeing that we are going all in on this Iron Fist mentality, we have to stop talking about signing Noah Lang. This is a Guendouzi/Alba 2.0 waiting to happen. Trust me. Look, I imagine the club will do their due diligence with every player that they are linked to, and if they feel like their personality does not fit with what they're trying to build, I'm sure they won't sign them. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. If you look at the players that we've signed since the summer of 2021, where the big change in recruitment happened, Ødegaard, great mentality. Ramsdale, great mentality. Ramsdale, great mentality. You've got Lukonga as a captain at Anderlecht. You've got Nuno Tavares that's obviously got issues in his game, but in terms of like commitment, he was brought on in the next fixture off the bench. So he clearly responded very well to being subbed very early. And I feel like I'm missing someone else. Tomiyasu. I mean, you could not get a more disciplined player than Tomiyasu. So I think you've seen that the club is moving in the direction of signing players they feel, from a character point of view, are certainly the right moves. Tim says, have you heard anything about a rule change of postponements for games? I like what we're doing with the squad, getting ready for the summer, but we're a tad thin if and when COVID injuries hit. Yes, the rule change, as far as I'm aware, is that you can only request a postponement if there is a minimum of 4 COVID cases in the squad. That's my understanding. So, like we had against Spurs, that wouldn't count. It would be rejected. Now, you need 4 cases, I think, minimum, before we can see any kind of difference. Mr. Simpatico says, do you think that we missed the chance to booster up our squad and the chance to go in the Champions League? The 5-year plan is hard to accomplish with Newcastle knocking on the door with a shotgun. I think that Arsenal missed an opportunity to strengthen in January with a number of players that did move. Arthur Cabral I bring up quite often. Wout Weghorst I think would have been a very decent acquisition as kind of your ulterior striker, certainly someone that would give us something different in the final third. Midfielders that moved, Stefano Sensi joined Sampdoria on loan, very talented Italian midfielder. Although saying that, Italians don't tend to move between nations. Joey Veerman, who went from Heerenveen to PSV, very interesting. Dutch 23-year-old, 7 assists, 3 goals for midfield, and deep midfielders that as well. Could have also strengthened us there. There are players that moved that we could have signed, we didn't. And maybe that will cost us. But I don't mind us not signing anyone, because what that means is we didn't make the mistake of, bringing in someone that was an absolute regret, which we could have done. So who knows? My opinion on Roger Schmidt. Opinion on Roger Schmidt leaving PSV. I haven't really kept up with Roger Schmidt ever since he left Salzburg. Was it Salzburg? I think it was Salzburg. So he was Salzburg manager when Jonathan Soriano was there. He did a very decent job and got to the round of 16 of the Europa League, where they went out to Basel. I think it was Basel. But no, I always thought he was a decent coach, but clearly it wasn't going very well at PSV. But I don't know the details, Manu. So there you go. I heard Wilshere. I heard rumours, says Ben Wright, that Wilshere is being trained up to take over as head coach of the under-18s. Any news on this? He's been doing coaching with the under-18s. I don't know if there's any intention to take over that yet. I've not heard those rumours, Ben. I know that he's been coaching or helping with the coaching of the under-18s, but I haven't heard anything about him taking them over yet. They've already got people there that are coaching them, so we'll see. Let's go to... He was Leverkusen manager as well. Yes, he was. But he was also Red Bull Salzburg's coach back in 2012 and through to 2014. Drew says, do you think Tommy fits into a back three system as a wing-back? Isn't he kind of slow? I have my reservations, but he's probably our best option. If you're going to play Cedric in the team, he has to be at wing-back. You can't use Cedric at a back four. He's defensively he's so flawed defensively that he just makes us far, far too weak. So there you go. Wes says, why did you change your mind about Schick? Consistency, Wes. It's as simple as that for me on Schick. Consistency is continue to score goals. It's not just been kind of a flash in the pan at the start of the season. It's continued onwards. I like from what I've seen of him. I like his characteristics. And, why not go in and bring someone in who's on the up, who's progressing and being consistent? I think that's what it is. Dana says, who has been your favourite Arsenal player this season so far, Tom? Brilliant community over here. Thanks, Dana. They are an absolute group of legends watching this show. And if you haven't dropped a like on the show already, please do. And Dana, look, you could join our Discord server by becoming a member and you get to be in a chat box 24/7. It's like the TGT chat box, but just all day. In regards to who my favourite player has been this season, it's very close between Martin Ødegaard and Tomiyasu. Both of those players have been excellent. I would give Ødegaard the captaincy in a heartbeat. I think he has got all of the makings to be a brilliant leader in the team. So absolutely, I would go with either Ødegaard or Tomiyasu, who I think has just been brilliant. Matt says, who would you sign or rather, would you sign a backup right back? I wouldn't, with White and Saliba coming back with the added Who's added that to his game? Yeah, Saliba has played at right back for Marseille very briefly, only in a couple of performances, but did look very decent. What I would say is that I do feel like if we lose Cedric, there is maybe an argument that we should be looking to bring in someone who's a bit different. I did say Mazraoui on a free might be a decent addition, but I do think that there's an argument that we may be too thin if Cedric leaves in the summer. I would let go of Cedric anyway, but we'll wait and see. Yes, a Food and Travel says, back three is great, but if injuries happen, we have not got enough options. We need a centre-back if we have a back three. Well, Saliba's coming back. We'll have Gabriel. We'll have Ben White. Rob Holding is still here until we know otherwise. Rekic has played in a back three, as have the whole of the youth side, in a back three for most of this season under Kevin Betsy. So we've got plenty of improvement coming through. Spence is a solid no from me. Olu, Jed Spence from Nottingham Forest or Middlesbrough, not for me. Not good enough, not consistent enough, and he's a little bit, what's the right word? He's a bit of a performer. Like when the cameras are on him, when there's a lot of hype, performs well, but week in, week out, not as much. So we did bring in Trusty, says Dapo, but he's expected to go on loan when he comes back in the summer. Alex, I expect there to be more rumours linking us with Lamptey. That's one that probably isn't going to go away. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, we're going to wrap things up there, people. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. I'll be back. When will I be back? Will I be back this afternoon? I was thinking about doing a Twitter space. I've not done a Twitter space before. But I really enjoyed the one I did with Chris the other day, Chris Davison on his Twitter. So I was thinking about maybe doing one this afternoon. The missus is out this evening at the cinema, so I think I'm tempted to do a Twitter space to get people chatting and talking. And you don't have to show your face, which I know people are much more comfortable with than doing phone-in shows on the channel. So I'm tempted to do that. I'll let you know if I do end up doing that. But basically a Twitter space is, Manu, for who's asking, it's like a phone-in show, which is just audio. It's like a joint phone call where you can listen to the phone call and then you can request to come onto the phone call and then have your say, ask your questions, and then jump off again. It's just a massive group call basically where you can listen in and request to have your join the call and stuff like that. So we'll see. If that's something that you think you'd be up for listening to, then do let us know. Anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you as it always is. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, up the Arsenal.